Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited about this series of videos where over the next 9 videos, I am going to chat with a member of our goal setting community about their Enneagram type and how it relates to their goals. So I'm gonna give a quick intro to what is the Enneagram and what does it mean? What am I gonna talk about in these videos? I'm gonna plop this intro in front of each of the videos in case you only click on the one that is your type. But if you are watching more than one of these Enneagram videos, click the timestamp in the description to jump to the chat part of the video. So let's start with what is the Enneagram. The Enneagram is a personality test that breaks people up into 9 distinct personality types. And just like other personality tests, each of us have a little bit of all 9 types in us somehow. But the Enneagram pulls forward which one is your core desire, which one is dominant over the rest, your core desires, your core fears, what really gets you going. And again, just like every other personality test, there is so much information out there, and everything you read, every book, every article is going to give you different information about the different types. And so there might be some things I share that you completely relate to and some things I don't relate to. And then there might be some things in the other type videos that you relate to as well. I also want to make sure you know there is a lot of information related to the Enneagram that we're not going to get into in these videos. There are subtypes, there are wings. Wings just mean you have a secondary Enneagram that is one of the 2 types next to yours. You do actually lean to both of them, but you usually have a stronger one. So if you are very interested in how this can impact your goals, I would encourage you to watch not just your type, but also the 2 next to your type that could be your wings. But we, again, are not going to go into that, and I'm not chatting with each individual about their wing type. I also want to remind you, I'm not an expert. This is not my area of expertise. I did do a lot of research and preparation for these videos, and most of the information that I am sharing is coming from a couple of places. So the first one is this book that I read. It's called, the lighting is not totally working. It's called The Honest Enneagram by Sarah Jane Case, who I also love following on Instagram. I read about all of the types in this book and used a lot of it in my conversations with everybody, as well as this one, which is Take Care of Your Type by Christina Wilcox. So a lot of what I reference can be found in these books if you're looking for more information. I also follow a lot of great Instagram accounts that share a lot of both fun and helpful things related to the Enneagram. And so over the course of the videos, I will pop up some fun things and you'll see the Instagram handle captioned at the bottom, and I will leave the Instagram accounts linked down below as well. Those are sort of the ongoing places that I get my Enneagram information and just learn a little bit more about myself. So the last thing I want to let you know is as we go through each of the chats, I'm going to be talking about that type as a whole, some of the strengths of that type and how it relates to goals, and then some of the struggles that that type will have and how to overcome that to help you achieve your goals. One of the biggest takeaways in all the research I did for these videos and as it relates to the Enneagram is we're not trying to change ourselves. We're trying to learn how we operate and what drives us and how to utilize that to achieve our goals. And that one of the main reasons why we do struggle to achieve our goals is that we try to do it like everybody else, right? Maybe you watch videos of people on YouTube or follow them on Instagram and you try to achieve your goals in the exact same way that they are, but you're a totally different personality type than them. And there is a quote from one of the books that I don't want to mess up. It says, "One of the biggest mistakes I see my clients make is that they try to get the results they want using the tactics of someone else." So at the end of the day, I hope that these videos help you learn a little bit more about yourself and some tactics that can help you achieve your goals based on your Enneagram personality type. All right, let's get started. Hi, I'm so excited that you're here today.
Yay, me too.
Okay. So let's kick it off with an introduction. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, where you live, what you do for work, and what you do for fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Sade. I live just outside of Toronto, Canada. So if you know where that's at, hello. I work in higher education. I'm a manager for the School of Engineering here in an institute just right outside of Toronto. And then what I do for fun, I think like many of the people that follow you, I'm a planner girl at heart. So playing with stickers, planners, all of that. Love it.
Yeah, that if you're here on this channel, you probably can completely relate to that. All right. And if you're comfortable sharing, I would love to hear some of your top goals for 2022.
Yeah. So one of my top goals, which I've already accomplished and I'm so excited, was to kind of pivot my career. So by trade, I am a pharmacist and I kind of switched and pivoted to higher education.
Oh my gosh.
And over the last couple of years, I've been really working for a promotion and I got the promotion in March, which I shared in the PlanwithLaken group. So very excited and thank you for kind of helping with that guidance there.
Oh my gosh. No, that's all you. That is
yes.
so exciting.
I think it's the community. To be quite honest, it's the community because you're able to like lean on the community and ask so many questions. And another top goal that I have for this year, which is in the works, is extending our family. So we have one child right now, and we're looking at extending the family, which may or may not be in the works. But yeah.
Yay. Oh my God, that is so exciting. What a year for you. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump into it. Before we do, if you are also a type 6, I want you to comment below and say hi. And we are going to start with just a fun little pop-up, which is Enneagram types at an amusement park. So it says for the type 6, the one with the sunscreen. Do you feel like that's you?
You know what? I actually don't feel like that's me. And it probably should be me, though, to be quite frank with you. I mean, we talk about like aging and wrinkles and all of that, and I probably should be more proactive about that. But I feel like with this list, I feel like I'm the person with the map. I'm like, we're going this way. This is where the next amusement is. And like, that's totally me.
Okay, I think that the sunscreen probably leans into the fact, and we will talk about this, that type 6s are typically very prepared. And that was like a type of preparedness. And I also love that this is just the first example of there are going to be things that we talk about today and in all these Enneagram videos that you might completely relate to. And then there might be things you're like, that's not me at all. And it's because we all have all the types inside of us to some degree. It's just which one is the most dominant, which one comes out the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So my first question, if you remember, is how did you discover the Enneagram and how did you determine your type?
So I think like maybe a lot of people, I've kind of heard about the Enneagrams floating around on social media, like Instagram. And I, saw all the nice graphics and everything, and it kind of piqued my interest. I was like, what is this? And then I think I Googled like Enneagram type quiz and just took a quiz. And then I think you had also posted like another quiz in the PlanwithLaken community Facebook group. So I took that. And so over the course of like the last year, after taking various assessments and tests, I've kind of consistently landed on a type 6.
Okay. I do think it is a combination of tests, but also reading things about them, learning about each type to really figure out which one you identify with the most.
For sure.
We're all different every day. And so you might take a test one day and get one answer, or I know somebody who like gets a 3-way tie every time they take the test. Like that's not helpful. So you have to kind of like learn about them to figure out which one fits you the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's a couple more fun little pop-ups. There's 3 of them, and it is Enneagram things that they love. So this type 6 is a cozy blanket and a favorite drink.
That is me to a T. If you give me my iced coffee from Starbucks and I win with a cozy blanket, whether it's watching like a Netflix movie or reading a good book, like that is me to a T.
I love that. Okay, just for fun, what is your Starbucks order?
So I like a cafe misto, and then depending on like what season it is, you can like spice it up with like the chestnut praline. Like, so it's very versatile.
I don't think I've ever had a cafe misto. I don't even think
I love them. You got to try it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to add that to my list. All right. The next one here is hanging out with a cute animal.
Yes, absolutely. Like dog mom all the way. So I have a 5-year-old who loves animals. And so this is totally me.
Okay. I love that. The last one here is movie nights, which kind of feels similar to being cozy, but like more specific.
Yeah. I would say movie nights at home.
Okay. Yes, right. You don't want to go out to the movies.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I would prefer to be in my pajamas and watching a good movie, whether we're renting a movie or watching like the newest Netflix show and binge watching. But yeah, absolutely movies all the way.
Love that. Awesome. Well, let's jump into talking about what the type 6 is all about. So I have this slide, if I can get there, to pop up. So the overall name of the type 6 is the loyalist, and their basic desires are to have support, guidance, and belonging. Basic fears of being unprepared, unstable, or without reassurance. Do you feel like you align with that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that one of my things, like, especially when I was like looking for a husband before I got married, was support and guidance. I think that that's something that is so important to me. You want somebody that's going to support you. Like you want people that are going to be around you, that are going to continuously support you. And that sense of belonging. And I think that that's why I love the planner community so much, because there's like this sense of belonging, like despite whatever planner you may use, like I'm Team Coil, by the way, but no matter what planner you use, I think that there's just this commonality and sense of belonging that kind of brings us all together.
I love that. I do feel like type 6 is one of those types that is more common in the planner community. I've heard that a lot. And I think that that's probably part of it is they want
Yeah.
that belonging in that community. The last thing on this slide is ultimate motivations, which is to attain hope and truth, to be certain, and to understand their trustworthiness and that of others. Trust came up a lot in my research for this type.
Yeah, you know what? That's one of the qualities that I look for, like in friends and like obviously my husband and all of that stuff. Trustworthiness. I want to be able to trust people, but I also want people to be able to like reciprocate that and like trust me. And so I find that that is so important. And so completely agree with that entire assessment there.
Well, let's jump in to the strengths of the type 6, because there is this quote from one of the Enneagram books I read that says, it's not honest to pretend that we don't have flaws, but it's also not honest to pretend that we don't have strengths. And we always jump to the negative first. We always jump to like, what's wrong with my type? What do I need to fix? And so we're going to start with the positive, and we're going to start with the strengths of the type 6. And so the first one, and talk about how they relate to goals. There's a lot of strengths of every type, and there are definitely strengths of every type, the 6 especially, that were very relationship focused. And not that those aren't important, but I really tried to pull out strengths that impact goals more directly than just like being a good friend. That one came up a lot. It's like, because are really good friends. So the first one here is that 6s are always prepared. Kind of like we talked about earlier with the sunscreen, always got to be prepared in advance.
Oh yeah, 100%. I have like planners assorted, just hanging out here. I've got lists. I have thoroughly researched wherever I am going. If I'm going into a meeting, I've researched who's going to be in the meeting, kind of, what's going to happen. So yeah, always prepared. I said you wouldn't be able to catch me slipping because I am always prepared.
I love that. And that's obviously a really helpful trait to have when it comes to goals. Like, you are prepared for what you're going to need. You're not going to show up to something and be like completely blindsided by something that you couldn't have anticipated. Strength number 2, we kind of already talked about, but that is incredibly trustworthy. And that 6s are somebody that you as a friend, as a spouse, as a mom, as a daughter can absolutely trust 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? That is like really for me, particularly as a 6, I think that that is so important. I think that that's at the center of who I am. We are just, I feel, trustworthy individuals, and we also are looking for that in other people. So if I say that I'm going to do something, I absolutely am going to do it. And I'm a very loyal friend and partner and so forth. So absolutely.
I love that. So one of the things I wanted to add on this as it relates to goals is encouraging you and other type 6s to trust yourself, because I think that sometimes you might struggle then to trust you. Like, if a friend would come to you for that advice, you are absolutely 100% capable of coming to yourself. And so trust that you are making good decisions for you, that you're doing what's right for you, and just making sure you tap into that.
You know what? And that is so good, because sometimes I find that I second guess myself, right? So like like you said, if a friend comes to me and they're asking for advice, oh, absolutely, I've got that. But when it comes to myself and personally, sometimes I find that I second guess myself. Did I make the right decision? Am I on the right track? So yeah, just kind of digging inward and trusting myself and trusting my gut.
Right. If you would trust yourself with your friends, like, trust yourself with you. I feel like that's a cheesy thing to say, like, you're your friend, but like, you can be.
Yeah, I'm my own best friend.
Right, exactly. All right. The last strength I have here for type 6s is that you're very aware and great at reading people.
Oh, this is bang on here. I am very aware at what's going on. I feel like I pick up on cues that others might not pick up on, things such as like body language and all of those things. I am very, very aware. My husband and some of my friends are always like, did you get a good read on that person? Like, what was I'm like, I think that they're decent. They're good people.
Right.
But no, absolutely. I'm great at reading people, and my assessments are usually spot on.
That is an amazing skill to have. I do not have that skill. I cannot. So incredibly jealous. And I'm sure your friends and family appreciate your ability to like, be like, yeah, that's good. That's not right. Yep. You're always probably the first person they come to vet, like a significant other.
My sister, she's like still dating, and she's always like, this is the guy that I'm interested in. And then we'll talk about him. And then I'm like, I don't know if that's the guy for you. And then maybe later on, she's like, you know what? You were right. Like, he was horrible.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. And again, just that is one of the things that kept coming up in the books too, was like, having a 6 in your life is valuable, and like to keep them close and like not take advantage of them, but like be thankful that you have that kind of person in your life.
Value us. We're great.
Yes. I love that. So the same kind of thing as we talked about with strength too is do it for yourself. Like instead of just always being that reader or that like awareness for somebody else, like you can do that for yourself as well, and trusting your gut when it comes to people and your surroundings.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great reminder. And these are things that I feel like I need to put on a post-it and
Right.
have it like front and center so that I can always remember them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's you're not going to remember all the time. Like that happens. There's so many things that we need to
Yeah.
remember, right? Our brains can only hold so much. But when it's something that is specific to your personality, like we all struggle with this, but as a type 6 would likely have that more often. And so having that reminder for you is probably more important. All right. We're going to move into the struggles, which are not always the fun thing to talk about. But I want to pop up a reminder. This is from one of the other books I read, saying that the core goal of using the Enneagram is to grow into your best, most authentic self. What I mean by that is we're not trying to change your struggles. We're not trying to change you. We're not trying to make these not things that you struggle with. We're just trying to figure out how best to work with them and what tools do we need to lean into them a little bit more. Or the reminders, like you said, the sticky notes.
Yeah.
So the first one I have here, which you did bring up a little bit, is constant self-doubt and self-questioning. That
Yes.
you are always like questioning yourself, not making the decision, and not following your gut.
Yeah, you know what? And I found that specifically when I was working on like some of my professional development goals at the beginning of this year, like in Q1. I was always second guessing myself when I had action items such as networking and all of that. I was like, am I networking with the right people? Am I coming across as genuine? Always second guessing myself. And so, like you said, just kind of trusting yourself and knowing that you're doing what's best for yourself, and kind of pushing aside that negative self-talk.
It's that positivity, right? So like reminding yourself that you are successful. You've
Yeah.
been there, right? When you're networking, like you're amazing and you have great things to talk about, and just reminding yourself of those things, whatever kind of positivity you need. I feel like affirmations is a really good
Mhm.
exercise for this particular struggle. I mean, I do daily affirmations anyways, and this is not necessarily something I struggle with, but I feel like for anybody who feels like this is something that they are not as good at, start with one. Like start with just one, and start with writing. I feel like is easier than saying them. I know a lot of people
Yeah.
say to like say them in the mirror. That for me is hard and awkward. But like start with writing them and start with one, like one affirmation. It doesn't have to be super complicated or super long, but it could be really helpful.
Nice. That's a great tip.
Yeah.
Love it.
So the next one, struggle number 2, is bothered by change, and that 6s don't like change.
You know what? I hear people when they say that change is the only thing that is constant.
Right.
Listen,
Yes.
I just can't get down with that. That change is too difficult for me. I find that when I have a plan, I really do not want to
Yep.
deviate from that plan. I understand that sometimes you do. But for me, I think it goes back to that you're not gonna kind of catch me unaware. Like I'm
Yep.
well prepared. I've kind of thought out, option A, B, and C. So yeah, change really does bother me, and I kind of grumble sometimes.
Sure.
But sometimes it is warranted.
I mean, yeah, obviously, like that quote that change is the only constant is not totally wrong. I think maybe here it's remembering that change is not always bad, right? Sometimes change is for the better. And maybe it's reminding yourself of all the times that change has happened and it's been good.
Mhm.
Like even like bringing a new member into your family, right? That's a
Mhm.
change. Like that is a massive change, but it's a positive. It's a positive one. So just like remind yourself of all the positive changes that have happened, and then I think also the remembering that um, growth comes from change. Like
Yeah,
that growth
it
is
does.
almost impossible without it, and so if that's the ultimate goal is to grow, that's gonna have to have some change.
I love that you said that, Laken. And the reason why I love that is because, growth does come from the change, right? Like if you're never changing, then you're essentially just stagnant and you're going to be the same person in 10 years. And do you really want to be the same person in 10, 15, 20 years? So things do need to change in order for you to grow. So I totally resonate with that.
Yeah. So I think again, there's not necessarily a tangible action step here, more of like just like that reminder
Yeah.
of being okay with change, and like it's almost like having a tool or a ritual almost when change is happening to be like, okay, self, like change can be positive, growth is going to happen, like it's okay.
The world is not ending.
Right. Yeah. Well, okay. So that's funny because Struggle number 3 is that 6s are always considering the worst case scenario. Literally like the world is going to end.
Yeah, you know what? I am completely agreeing with this. My husband always jokes. He's like, "You're always going to like the worst case scenario. Like you go from 0 to 100. That's so extreme." And I'm like, "Gosh, that sounds so pessimistic." But yes, I'm always considering the worst case scenario, and I don't know if I'm doing it from like a place of negativity. I
No.
think I'm just doing it from a place of I want to have a plan in place so that when it does happen, like if that worst case scenario does happen, I feel prepared. And I think that that goes back to maybe like that sense of security,
Yep.
like needing that security and having a plan.
Yep. And so again, just like change, not necessarily a bad thing. It can be good to be prepared for the worst case scenario. I think the reminder here might be that the likelihood of the worst case scenario is probably not very likely,
Yeah,
right?
very
Like
soon.
maybe there's somewhere in between of like the bad case, but not the worst case. I saw a quote somewhere that was like, if you are constantly worrying, then you have to go through the negative things twice because you
Yeah.
like go through it when you worry. And then again, if it happens, and it's like,
Happens.
well, that's no fun. And so I agree. I don't think that you're coming at it from a negative or pessimistic place. It's from preparedness. You want to be prepared for that worst case scenario. But at the same time, I think it's just getting realistic about what's the likelihood of that actually happening? And is it worth my worry, the time I'm taking to prepare, and all of those things?
Yeah, and you know what? It takes a lot of time to like worry about those things, right? Like I could be on to the next thing and I probably have more efficient, better uses of my time, to be quite frank. So yeah, it does take a lot of energy to kind of always be worrying, okay, this is the worst case scenario. What is my plan for that? So kind of being mindful of that, that you know what, sometimes you just gotta roll with it. And if it comes up, it comes up, and then I deal with it when it happens.
Right. And maybe that reminder, I've seen this quote float around as well. Like, you have gotten through all of your hardest days.
Yeah.
Like, you have made it through 100% of your bad days. So, like, when not worst case, but when bad cases happen, like, you will figure it out,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is
I will.
scary and not exciting and fun, especially for your personality type. But like, it's possible. You will make it
Yeah.
happen.
It is possible.
All right, I have another pop-up. These are just like common thoughts of each Enneagram type. So the 6th one says, I'll feel better if I over-prepare.
Yes.
Like,
Because then I feel like nothing is gonna happen that's gonna catch me off guard. I feel like if I am over, I prefer to be over prepared than under prepared
sure.
because then I've got everything covered.
I like that it's specific about over-prepare, right? Because there's a difference between like prepared and over-prepared, which
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I can be that way where I'll be like, well, especially when I'm traveling, I was just packing today. So I was like, I need to bring like 3 of this thing. And it's like, do you really though? Like, prepared would be having 1, over prepared is like packing 3.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can see that for your trip to Ireland. Absolutely. Just saying, I need to have multiples because what if this one fails? What if I lose it? What if it breaks? Is it really a necessity? Probably not. So yeah.
And then I will sometimes think of not necessarily the worst case scenario, but like, okay, the scenario in which the first one that I'm bringing to be prepared breaks, doesn't work, whatever this, and it runs out, whatever it is, how easily can I get another one? Right. And like,
Yeah.
yes, I'm going to a foreign country, but it's Ireland. Like, they have stores. Like, I could likely, whatever I need, literally anything I'm packing, with the exception of like the bridesmaid's dress, I could replace.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So then I guess maybe being mindful of that as well,
Yeah.
right? And so, you know what? If I have one, like I'm good, I'm comfortable.
I'm
And
prepared.
depending on where I'm going, I can easily have access to a duplicate or something like some type of alternative.
Yeah. That's good tips for packing. I don't know if there's other scenarios where it's as tangible to be like, what's the difference between prepared and over prepared? And so maybe it's a time limit, right? Maybe it's like,
Mhm.
if you're preparing for something, you say, okay, you get an hour to prepare. And then once you've spent an hour on preparation, you're done
Done.
and you've got to move on to avoid that over preparation.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. Very
Especially
valid.
because time is valuable, and is that over preparedness really worth that extra time you would spend on it? I guess is the
Yeah.
ultimate question that you have to answer.
Yeah. And I think that question is so personal to each person
Yeah.
because I guess your level of preparedness would be different than mine. And for everybody else, right? So it's kind of, personal. And everybody just needs to kind of look at, where their comfort level lies and then figure out what's going to work best for them.
100%. And also, what is it that they're preparing for, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that your need for over preparedness for something maybe work related or something related to your child is possibly different than like your over preparedness for like your own personal
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah. Children are a different ballgame. You need like 3 of everything.
So that is all I have in terms of struggles, but I did want to give you the opportunity, if you have a goal related question or a goal related struggle that you feel like you have, that you would want to ask that other type 6s might have as well.
Okay, so I think that my one question would be, how can type 6s, so me and my fellow type 6s, how can we just like savor the moment? Like,
Okay.
not always have to be prepared for everything, but really just be in the moment and enjoy life. I feel like sometimes I get wrapped up in like the planning and wanting to always be prepared and feeling secure and all of that. But how can we still have that comfort while still like just living in the moment?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I almost feel like it's funny because you referenced all the stuff you do before, and I almost feel like it's not there. There, I wouldn't change what you do, because that is, if you under prepare or you don't prepare as much as you would like, then when you get to that moment, all your brain is going to be doing is thinking like, well, what if I need this? And what if I need that? And what if I need that? And so it might be being prepared as much as you would like to be. That way, when you're there in whatever that moment is, you can focus on what am I doing right this second, instead of what if this, that, and the other happens. And then I think the other tip for that or piece of it is you're still going to have those thoughts, right? You're not going to be able to avoid those thoughts in that moment. And so when those thoughts happen, working on, it's almost like a muscle. It's almost like a skill for when you have the thought, okay, well, what if you stop, you have like, okay, well, what if it does? This is what would happen. Back to the moment, and have something that you do that pulls you back to the moment. Somebody gave me this advice before the wedding, and they said, when you want to stop and remember the moment, close your eyes and let your other senses like become stronger. So like your sense of smell, your hearing, your like what you're feeling all becomes stronger when you close your eyes. And they were like, don't do it for like that long, but like stop and close your eyes for a couple seconds and just let your other senses be stronger. And like that will bring you back into whatever that moment is and like clear your mind of that sort of what if thinking.
Wow, that's such great advice, and I think I want to try that. And like you're very correct in that, don't do it for an extended period of time. People might be like, "Are you okay?"
But what's going on?
But no, it's really, I think that that's a good idea, because I think that that gives your a brain, like, especially I'm talking about myself, it gives my brain a moment to like pause and then activate like the other senses, right? So I think that that's really great practical advice.
Yeah. And I think that's a great question too, for something that you absolutely, I can see that being a struggle for you.
Yeah.
All right. The last pop-up I have are just notes for each of the types. So the type 6 says, thank you for listening. Everybody's always very appreciative of the type 6s in their life for listening and likely helping them make some decision that they can't make on their own.
Yeah. 100%.
That is so great. All right. Any last minute tips or things that you have found that work for you related to goals that you would like to share?
You know what? No, I think that one of the things that has really helped me achieve so many of my goals this year compared to like previous years is leaning on community. And when I say community, I'm specifically speaking about like the Plan with Laken community.
I did not tell her to say this.
I know this is not sponsored. No. But no, honestly, leaning on community. I think that so many times we try to like go at our goals alone, and there's no problem with that. But I think that when you have people that are cheering you on, that you are able to lean on, that you are able to ask questions, like if you kind of come upon like a roadblock, I think that there is value in that. And so one of the things that really helped me this year was, I think I had asked like a professional development question at the beginning of this year. And then someone had given me a really good tip about networking. And then that is really what kind of helped propel me in my career this year. So find a community, whatever community that might be for you, and then really lean into that.
That is so, I mean, obviously thank you for saying all of those kind things, but I agree with you that we can't do it alone. Like for most of our types, like with the exception of maybe the type 3s, you're not going to be able to do this by yourself. You're going to need some sort of support to get you through all of the goals and all the roadblocks that you are going to hit, because it happens. And
Yeah.
so having that community, that support system to get you through it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for being here today. I appreciate it so much. If you are a fellow type 6, if you got something out of this video, please give it a thumbs up before you head out and click that subscribe button if you are new here. Thank you for watching.